Puppy, the friend who never gives up. When winter descended upon the Hana Mountains, a place famed for snow-covered forests that looked like they had stepped out of a fairy tale, the sky hung heavy and gray. Layers of frost blanketed the ground, freezing even the howling wind. The air was thick with cold, each breath turning to ice halfway out. Yet amidst that bitter chill, the majestic beauty of the mountains emerged, radiant, like a prelude to a coming miracle. A small bus crawled slowly along a winding slope, its wheels digging deep into the soft snow. Inside, students buzzed with excitement, their laughter warming the cold atmosphere. Sitting by the window, Hana, an 11-year-old girl with soulful eyes, quietly gazed outside. She said nothing, just hugged her worn-out backpack tightly, a tiny dog-shaped keychain dangling from the zipper. It wasn't just a decoration. It was a silent companion she clung to for comfort. This was her first school trip without her parents, and Hana's heart was in turmoil. She knew no one on the bus. The others had already formed groups, sharing snacks and chatting, while she remained quiet. Cold winds slipped through the window crack, carrying the scent of pine and ice, making her small hands tremble. But her eyes stayed fixed on the world outside. When the bus stopped at a rest station, the teachers divided the students into groups for exploration, but Hana asked to go alone. She wandered deeper into the woods, where few footsteps had ever reached. Snow crunched beneath her boots, wind whistled through old pine branches. She stopped beside a fallen tree and began playing with the snow. A faint whimper. Hana looked up. The sound was so soft, it felt like the whisper of the forest. She listened intently, moving slowly toward it. Beneath a snow-covered bush, she found a small creature, a white and gray puppy, injured and trembling. Its eyes were barely open, filled with both fear and a flicker of hope. Hana unwrapped her red scarf and wrapped it around the freezing little body. She lifted it. Heavier than expected, snow began falling thickly, wind slashing across her face. Hana ran with all her might back toward the cabin, her heart pounding not from exhaustion, but from fear. Fear that the tiny life in her arms would fade before reaching safety. Back at the rest station, everyone was stunned. The teachers rushed to help. A warming room was prepared. The pup was dried, wrapped in blankets, and its wounds tended to. Hana didn't take her eyes off him, not for a second. She didn't cry, but her eyes brimmed with tears, the gaze of a child who, for the first time, understood what it meant to be responsible for a life. Night fell. Hana stayed there. The puppy's breathing steadied, its shivers lessened. Gently, she stroked his head. "From now on, we're friends, okay? I'll call you Puppy." Only the crackling fire filled the room now, and a friendship was being born, quiet but profound. The next morning, while everyone was still asleep, Hana woke early to prepare warm milk for Puppy. But when she walked over to the blanket by the fireplace, it was empty. Puppy had vanished. Only small paw prints remained, trailing deep into the forest, where snow was falling heavily and the wind howled as if to swallow every tiny soul. Without a coat, the girl dashed outside. The Hana forest was still asleep under a gloomy morning sky. Snow fell heavier than the night before, covering every trail, muffling even the faintest sounds of life. Trees stood bare and battered, threatened by the howling wind. And in that desolate silence, only footprints remained. Hana rushed into the forest, her heart pounding. She wore nothing but a thin sweater and shoes soaked in snow, yet she didn't feel the cold. Only one thought echoed in her mind. Where is Puppy? The wind shrieked through the branches. Amid the sound of crunching snow and Hana's breathless gasps, a faint noise surfaced, a soft bark, then silence. She stopped, her heart skipping a beat. Puppy? Nothing but the wind answered. She moved deeper, crossing a frozen stream, passing fallen trees until she reached a snow-covered mound marked by small paw prints, scattered and erratic as if the pup had been fleeing or searching. And then she saw it, a patch of snow, freshly dug up. Suddenly, the blizzard struck. Wind howled violently. Snow flew sideways, stinging her face, blinding her. Hana dropped behind a fallen trunk, gasping for breath, clutching a branch as if her life depended on it. Then, for a brief moment amid the blinding white chaos, a blur darted across her vision. She screamed, "Puppy!" But the wind swallowed her voice. When the gusts calmed, Hana dragged herself toward where the shadow had disappeared. There, she found a small hole dug into the snow. Inside was her red scarf, barely clutched between the jaws of a tiny creature. No barking, no movement. Trembling, Hana knelt, Beneath the dark canopy of branches, she saw the familiar eyes, weary, drained, but still, eyes that spoke. She lifted Puppy into her arms. His body was limp, unresisting. Tears streamed down Hana's face, falling into the snow. Don't give up. Don't be like those who abandoned you, she whispered. And then, a faint motion. The tail twitched. Puppy was alive. Hana ran as if escaping fate itself. The wind returned, snow blanketing her hair, face, shoulders, but she didn't stop. In her arms, Puppy opened his eyes once more, and this time, licked her hand. When she burst into the cabin, the search party was still out. Gasps filled the air. Covered in dirt and snow, Hana stood, holding a creature as if rescued from death itself. In the warming room, Puppy lay in a basket lined with fresh towels. The local veterinarian just called in, examined him and nodded. He'll be fine, just needs rest. But Hana's eyes had fixed on an old scar on Puppy's belly. Faint, hidden beneath fur, but clearly unnatural. She looked up at her teacher and whispered, He used to belong to someone. And a question echoed in her mind, one that would stay with her for a very long time. Who is Puppy, really? And who left him behind in that snowstorm? Hana held the photo with trembling hands. Who was the girl standing next to PuppyPalooza? What was her connection to him? Why was PuppyPalooza wearing the same red scarf that had accompanied Hana on the trip? She looked deeper into the photo and noticed in the background a building with a sign, PX9 Lab. On the building was the exact same symbol as the one on Puppy's scar. That night, Hana took the photo and used a magnification app to examine the details. On the girl's pant leg was a badge from Himari Provincial Middle School. Hana took notes of everything. The next morning, she slipped away from the field trip schedule, caught a public bus along another route, and asked to stop at Himari. At the old school, Hana pretended to be a little sister visiting. In the student records room, she found the matching photo. The girl's name, Minako Ayura. Beneath the photo were the words, missing after the PX9 center shut down due to an accident. Hana began tracing Minako Ayura's story. She went to the city library, where she found a short article from 5 years ago. PX9, Educational and Biological Research Center shuts down after 3 staff mysteriously disappear. Ayura was listed among the missing, but no bodies were ever found. That night, Hana placed the old photo in front of Puppy. In the stillness, Puppy nudged the scarf, stared at the image, then tilted his head back and let out a long, haunting bark, like a cry from the past. Suddenly, from the wooden cabin, a scream echoed through the forest. Hana shot up, frozen, sensing someone or something was drawing near. The next morning, Hana returned to the spot where Puppy had dug in episode 2. There, buried in the snow, she found a small, weathered note written in a child's hand. Ayura never abandoned Puppy. They want to erase the truth. Save him. At the bottom was the PX9 symbol and the fingerprint of a child. Hana gave the fingerprint from the small note to her grandaunt's boyfriend, a man who worked in the data investigation office. A few days later, he returned with an answer. The fingerprint matches Ayura Minako. She is still alive. The answer shattered the missing person narrative and awakened something in Hana. Someone was hiding the girl. Hana accessed the PX9 project files through the district's online archive. She discovered that the former head of the project was Professor Iwata Shinji. On a biology forum, she found more information. The professor retreated into the Myoji forest and lives in seclusion after PX9 was shut down. Hana made up her mind to find Professor Iwata. She feared Puppy was being tracked, and feared even more that she herself was being pulled into a dangerous pursuit. Yet PuppyPalooza followed her without hesitation, as if part of his lost memory was resurfacing. At a village near the forest's edge, Hana encountered a retired nurse who once worked with the professor. The professor? He's living alone in a cabin near the woods, but he refuses to meet anyone. Hana knocked on the door as wind howled. No one answered. She left a note along with a photo of Puppy as a puppy. That night, when she returned to her lodging, she found a slip of paper inside her backpack. If you wish to know the truth about Ayura, come back tomorrow morning. Wait at the red mug. The next morning, Professor Iwata opened the door. In a dim wooden room, Hana finally heard the whole story. Ayura was my daughter. She wanted to join PX9 to connect with Puppy. But the day the lab exploded, she disappeared. Everyone believed she died. Hana replied. But she's alive. I've seen the signs. I will help find her. The professor's face grew tense. They won't allow it. PX9 still has powerful backers. He handed Hana a gray-covered notebook, the complete PX9 journal, documenting the development of empathic gene types and cognitive enhancement abilities. At the very end, a map of the old PX9 facility was attached, along with a secret underground entry point. On the final page, Hana read, Emergency Access Code, Puppy Ayura 9X. She paused, deep in the underground entrance. Could it be where Ayura is hiding? Hana took Puppy and the map, following the directions to the edge of a dried-up stream. Beneath a large rock hollow was an old metal gate, hidden beneath layers of green moss. She entered the code, Puppy Ayura 9X. The gate trembled slightly, then slowly opened. Inside was a dim, damp underground bunker, thick with the stench of mold and rot. Puppy clung to Hana's leg, hesitant. She noticed signs of severed electrical cables, shattered monitors. In room 3, there were bite marks on the glass wall, and the name Ayura scratched into the surface. PuppyPalooza growled low, staring into a sealed door. Hana used an old login interface, typing in the name Mikado Ayura. She found a hidden lab, silent and cold, full of sealed glass cabinets. Inside were brainwave monitoring machines, and a portrait of Ayura with a red X drawn across her face. A handwritten note read, Only when Puppy arrives can Ayura be saved. Hana was shaken. These were clues left by someone within the facility. As Hana and Puppy pushed through another door, they heard a faint, weakened sound, almost like Ayura's voice calling from within the shadows. Puppy dashed ahead, barking, biting at the metal door. Hana used emergency strength to force the lock. The door swung open, revealing a soundproof room with tables, chairs, and handwritten notes scattered everywhere. On the wall, a chilling message was written. To whoever finds this, Ayura is not the only one. Suddenly, a blaring system alarm echoed. Internal breach detected. Red emergency lights flickered wildly. Puppy led Hana down another corridor, through a narrow air vent passage. As they ran, Hana noticed name markers along the wall. Ayura, M. Reiko, M. Kazu. She paused. Ayura wasn't the only one imprisoned. When Hana finally emerged from the underground passage, a small device fell out, a USB drive marked with the PX9 logo. Back home, Hana opened the drive and found a file. Project M Log, a record of children born with special genetic codes, trained for research, then abandoned. On the final page, only Ayura knows the way to Room 0. Hana followed the map attached to the notes in the Project M Log. This map differed from the original. It revealed a hidden tunnel beneath PX9 leading to Room 0. The notes mentioned, access requires Ayura's or Puppy's fingerprint. Hana and Puppy returned to the underground entrance. The gate had been sealed again, but Puppy still recognized the old path. He began digging, revealing a narrow tunnel. The two of them crawled inside, guided only by flashlight and the damp, cold air. Before reaching Room 0, the two were detected by a military-grade security system. A female voice rang out. Unauthorized access. Only subject Ayura or Puppy permitted. Puppy stepped forward and placed his paw on the bioscan pad. The system paused, then powered down. A sliding door opened, revealing a large white room filled with deactivated screens, clocks, and 3D projection equipment. Suddenly, faces appeared on the wall. Ayura, Reiko, Kazu, Midori, and many other children. All were subjects of PX9. A nearby device lit up, and a video of Ayura began to play. If you're watching this, I am Ayura Minako. I escaped PX9 thanks to Puppy. My friends were separated after a failed experiment. Her voice trembled. I've left behind logs and the names of those who were hidden. Please, help them. The video ended. Immediately, a file opened, the list of 12. Hana read through the names. Ayura, Reiko, Kazu, Midori, Shuya. Each name was accompanied by a note on their last known location. Some were marked unknown. Others were scattered across various places. Hana's hands trembled when she saw status of Ayura. At the very end of the list, a final note was engraved. If Puppy returns, the last room will open. As soon as Puppy approached the white biometric panel at the end of the list, a metal door slid aside, revealing a new corridor descending deeper into the heart of PX9. Hana recalled a note from Ayura's journal. The final room was built to hold the most precious thing and the most dangerous. The underground chamber was enclosed by metallic walls and lined with buried cables. With every step Puppy took, the system activated biometric checkpoints, unlocking layer after layer of security. When Hana and Puppy reached a large glass door labeled P0 Core Access, the room inside glowed faintly blue as projection systems powered on. At the center of the chamber, Hana discovered a biological core connected to a living neural drive. Inside was an artificial intelligence, Echo Zero, the master system housing all PX9 data. As Hana placed her hand on the bio interface, Echo Zero began to speak. Hello, Ayura, or the heir to her legacy. Echo Zero displayed a data stream about PX9. The original project was meant to enhance genetic traits to build a new generation of superhumans, but it was later exploited by a shadow organization, using children as test subjects. Ayura was the only one who managed to escape, and she hid Echo Zero to preserve the truth. Then, Echo Zero asked Hana a question. Do you wish to dismantle this system and release the data to the world? Hana hesitated. She knew that doing so could expose dark secrets and send ripples through society, but it was also the only chance to find Ayura and save the other abused children. She pressed her hand to Echo Zero's confirmation pad. The screen lit up, and PX9's encrypted data began uploading via satellite. Just before they left the chamber, Echo Zero spoke one final line. Ayura is still alive. Her name has been changed. Seek the one marked M0. After leaving PX9, Hana and Puppy returned to the city. While trying to uncover the identity of M0, Hana reread the entire PX9 journal and found a hidden note. M0 was last seen at Reimatsu Medical Center, under the name Shinari. At Reimatsu, Hana posed as a volunteer student. She moved through various departments, discreetly using a terminal to search for individuals flagged as special. In the internal records, she found the name Shinari, identity unknown. Note, partial memory loss, refuses to communicate. She requested access, bringing Puppy as a therapy dog. Upon entering the room, Hana froze. In front of her sat a teenage girl around 16, dressed in white, with vacant, icy eyes, as if she couldn't see anything at all. But the moment Puppy approached, the girl sat upright. Her dull gaze softened into a puzzled expression. She didn't speak a word, but hugged Puppy tightly. Hana requested a blood sample from Shinari for infection screening. Using a specialized device she had received from Echo Zero, Hana discovered that Shinari's DNA matched Ayura's profile by 97%. The unmatched segment suggested genetic manipulation or memory reprogramming. Hana gently placed her hand over Shinari's and played the video from Room Zero. Puppy looked up at Shinari and let out a soft whimper, like the one he gave on the snowy day they first met. For the first time, Shinapo Ra? Her voice, though fragile, carried echoes of Ayura. You are Hana? And Puppy still. Suddenly, a nurse burst in. You've entered a restricted area by mistake. Hana backed out quickly, her heart pounding. Puppy looked back at Shinari, the final missing piece of his past. Here is the English translation of your text. After their meeting, Hana began sending secret letters hidden inside small gift boxes to Shinari. Inside were photographs, keepsakes, and excerpts from Ayura's journal. Each day, Shinari unlocked another faint memory of PuppyPalooza, of a cabin deep in the snowy woods, and of her father's voice. The doctors at Reimatsu proposed a memory retrieval therapy. Ayura would wear a device that recreated shared empathetic experiences. Puppy would sit beside her as a guide. In a softly lit room glowing blue, Ayura saw herself inside PX9, violent experiments, separation from her friends. She whimpered and burst into tears when she saw a tiny puppy inside a glass chamber. After the first session, Ayura spoke her name without hesitation. She embraced Hana and wept uncontrollably. I don't know why I forgot all of you. I thought I was dead. Puppy rested his head on Ayura's hand, licked it gently, then turned to gaze out the snow. While the three were recovering, a shadow group from the old PX9 facility began to regroup. Among them was a dark-haired young woman named Kyra, who had risen to power. Holding a photograph, she muttered, "That thing is still alive. Both the girl and the dog must be brought back into the system." Soon after, Hana received an anonymous note. "You know the secret behind the PX9 wall. Ayura recorded everything before she disappeared. Meet me before they follow the trail." Hana looked over at Ayura. PuppyPalooza let out a low growl, turning his head toward the hallway. Outside, footsteps echoed, but they didn't sound human.